Hey family, how are you? So I really want to start by saying what triggered me to even share this part of my story. As of lately, I've been very conscious of a parent. Like, I'm just trying to make sure I do things with purpose. I'm trying to make sure I'm at least doing it with the intent to get it right. I'm not going to say I'm perfect and I'm going to get it right every time, but I'm doing things with the intent to get it right. So everybody know that Faith had an eye infection, right? And it was really bad. It looks bad. And I told Faith, like, hey, you have to go to camp. The doctors cleared her to go to camp because she doesn't have a pink eye. She has an infection. It looks bad. It's nothing she can control, but it's not contagious. So they said it's okay for her to go to camp. But it looks really bad. So I said, Faith, you sure you want to go to camp? Even though I already paid for it, I don't care about the money. Are you sure you want to go to camp? Faith cried to go to camp because at some point I said, baby, you want to stay home, it looks bad. She cried and she was so mad at me that I got pissed and I said, you want to go. Sure enough, she gets to camp and she writes me and she's telling me, like, all the kids are staring and talking, the teachers is talking, blah 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 blah. They're saying that I have to go home. And I said, okay, tell them to call me. So the director called me and she was like, you know, it's causing an uproar, her eye, blah blah blah. I told her I'll email her the paperwork saying that she's not contagious, she's good to go to camp, they cleared her, but I'm very aware that it looks bad. I don't want to make kids or staff uncomfortable. Most importantly, I don't want my child to feel uncomfortable. And I told Faith she should go stay home. But I think these are life lessons, right? This is what I did to make me feel better because I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry just knowing that my child is uncomfortable. But this is what I told myself to make myself feel better. This is a character builder for Faith. This is really going to build who she is as a person. When Faith gets home today, I'm going to tell her, you physically look different, right? You see how your eyes really big, really swollen. You physically look different. Therefore, even adults were making you feel uncomfortable. And they were doing this because you look different than what they expected you to look, or you look different from other people. How did that make you feel? I want you to never be that person. There are plenty of people who look different, who have disabilities that is visible. There's just people who you just never know what they're going through. Now, do you see, because how you physically look, how people is treating you? When you see someone who looks different than what you expect them to look or how you think they're supposed to look, I never want you to make them feel the way these people made you feel. Never be who they were to you. And I think this is going to be a great character builder for her. I'm also going to give her the opportunity once again. Do you want to stay home tomorrow? If she says no, I'm going to allow her to go. Even though it breaks my heart to think that my baby is sitting there, people are picking, people are staring, people are saying, it's going to build her character. And it's going to make her stronger. And it's either going to make or break her. But I also want to give her that piece of protection to know that mommy's right the hell here. Whenever you're ready and you feel like you can't take it, text me, call me, and I'm going to be running to come pick you up. And it took me a lot to become this parent. Now here where it goes to my story. This is why I am the parent that I am. My mom never let me leave the house. When I say never, baby, I wasn't going. You know what's the furthest I can go? 2 doors down to her friend's house, and I can only go there because she was there. Other than that, I wasn't going to a sleepover. I wasn't going to an outing. I wasn't playing outside. I wasn't going in the backyard. I wasn't going to nobody else's house. I wasn't going to the playground. I couldn't have company. Company couldn't have me. Bitch, I couldn't. I was in the house. But my mother made the house fun. So I grew up thinking that was a norm. Therefore, what did I do when I have kids? I had kids and I kept my kids. Even y'all know. Those who've been here since day one, y'all know how I used to be when I let my... Even now, y'all compliment me. Y'all say, Jazz, I'm so happy you and the kids are getting out the house. We are house bodies. I had a big game... Yo, listen. Before I met Kyesha, I would not let my kids even go to the park. No. School, home. I made home fun. We built tents, we played movies, we played games, we did every... Fun is in the house. And that's exactly what I thought. I didn't want them to interact with the world because my mother didn't let me interact with the world. And Kyesha came into my life, in that aspect, she really changed it for me. And you guys who've been here for a while, y'all know she's opened me up to a lot. Especially with letting these kids have some sense of freedom. And that's like a generational trauma. You know, my mom didn't let me go out and do anything. She made house fun. So I made my kids scary and always want to be in the house because it's all that I knew. And when Kyesha was talking to me, just letting me know, like, you know what, your mom kept you in the house a lot, so you're doing that to the kids, and it helped me be more open. And then I sat back and I just thought about so much. I'm like, you know what, let me talk out loud about the way I grew up, because when I hear it, I want to be mindful of never allowing my kids to go through it, because I think that that's the norm. And before y'all judge me, you don't know what's the norm outside of your house, because it's something you created. It's yours. It's your tradition or your household. You think that this is life because it's all that you know. So of course my story may seem like, what the fuck to you, but remember, this was the norm to me because it was all that I knew. Okay, now here's a little background about myself. I don't know what's wrong with my memory, but I can't remember things from my childhood. Like, I don't remember nothing before the age of maybe 8. I know a lot of you can remember things at like 4 or 5 years old. I have like a very vivid memory of kindergarten, and all I know, I used to cry a lot. That's it. I don't remember things. I don't. But I do remember from being about maybe like vividly, I can remember things from like 8 and up. So I remember being a child, and I remember having a really big family who I thought everybody was my aunts and my uncles. And I don't know if y'all grew up like that, but that's just the way I grew up. Your mama friends is your aunts and your uncles, and you didn't know no different, right? So I thought all of these people was my aunts and my uncles. Me being a child, I don't know much of anything, but my mom kept me in the house. And what I do used to know is whenever the adults go into the bathroom, when the adults come out the bathroom, they are very happy. They are happy as shit. And they let you get away with murder. You could eat up all the snacks. You could eat candy. I don't know. I didn't know what they was doing in the bathroom. But when they came out the bathroom, bitch, they was happy. Me not knowing, that's the norm. So I remember being about maybe 13, probably younger. I'm gonna say 13, maybe 12, 11. And it was a clear baggie with a white powdery substance in it on the floor. And I was like, oh, I picked it up, and one of my older cousins, and wasn't really my cousin, now that I'm older and I know, it was my mother friend's son, but anyway, he said, put it down. He was like 4 years older than me. Put it down and don't ever touch it again. I'm like, why? What is that? He like, listen, that's drugs. Don't touch that. That's drugs, and that's what they do when they go in the bathroom. So you never touch that. And I'm like, they doing drugs in the bathroom? What the fuck? Like, but hey, whatever. It's nothing. Another memory I do remember is, this is how it all made sense to me. I've never, ever in my life seen my mother go to work. My mother has never got up and went to a job. I've never seen my mother never work a job. But she always had a shit ton of money. When I tell y'all she has never gotten up and took a foot out of that house, she's never went to work. But she always had money. And I'm like, what the freak? And she was always surrounded by my family. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what does she do to get money? I don't know. As I got older, I realized that my mom was a drug dealer. That's what she did to get money. She was the one supplying all these people around her who's supposed to be my aunts and my uncles and my friends. She was supplying them drugs. And I remember little things like, oh, I would see her put the drugs up. And then I started to get older and I started to learn the difference. Oh, that's coke. That's crack. That's dope. And oh, this person is addicted to this, and this and this is that. And remind you, I'm learning all this from a child. So I'm learning like, oh, this person does dope, so he needs this drug. Oh, when my uncle doesn't take this dope, he's really sick. It makes him really sick, so he needs the dope. Oh, when my aunt goes in the bathroom and sniffs this coke, she talking for hours and she's up for days. So I know that this is an upper. These are things that I'm learning. And my other aunt, she's a crackhead. Whenever she smoked this crack, you never know. She may be calm, she may be hype, she may be this, she may be that. She'll do anything for this crack. Oh, and my other aunts and uncles, they're addicted to alcohol. And when they wake up in the morning, they have the shakes and their hands are shaking and it's going. And if they don't drink this beer, whether it's a Colt 45, a St. Ives, a Crazy Stallion, if they don't drink that beer, they're going to be shaken and they're going to be attitudey and they need it. And they call it getting off the gate. These are things that I'm learning as a freaking child, bro. So I grew up in a drug house and I didn't even know. And then when I became about maybe 17, my mom used to tell me stuff like, oh, you want to go to the car and get this for me? I'll give you $100. I was going to the re-up man to get my mother drugs to bring it to her. I'm going to pick up 2, 3, 4, 8 balls, passing it to her. I'm thinking this stuff is the norm. So now I'm walking in and I see, when I walk inside, I see the glass plates and I see the razors and I see the sandwich baggies. It's like, oh, okay, they cutting up crack. This is what they're doing. They're bagging up. Like, and these things is normal in my mind because it's what I'm exposed to. And you would think one would become a product of their environment because that's usually what happens. You grow up around crackheads, drug addicts, alcoholics, people who, you know, do all these things. You usually become a product of that. And I thank God every day that I seen how these people was living and I knew that I didn't want to be any of it. Like, I seen what the drugs is doing and I was smart enough to know that, you know what, I don't even want to partake in this. It took me till I was 20 something years old just to take a sip of liquor because I was like, I don't want to get addicted. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to do any of these things. And it's so weird that now that I'm an adult and I can sit down and I could talk about it, sometimes I'd be talking to Kyesha about certain stuff and she'd be like, bitch, how would you know that? Like, I could walk in the hallway, I'd be like, oh, somebody's smoking crack. And she'd be like, what? How do you know what crack smells like? I know what crack smells like. I could look at you for 2 seconds and I could know what drug you do. I could know if you're doing dope, coke, meth, heroin. I could look at you and know exactly what drug you're on because I grew up in a drug house. Like, I literally think, I don't think it's normal, but the fact that it's so, like, normal to me, like, you see what I mean? So that's probably why when if you was to come into this environment that I live in, you'll be like, what the fuck? These dope heads leaned over, these crackheads smoking crack on the corner, these drug addicts. I know each and every crackhead. I know every drug addict. I know every dealer. I know every hood person. And I know better to know it's not normal, but it doesn't scare me. And that's a problem for me because I don't want my kids to continue on with this same thing. I don't want my kids to get older and think like crackheads are normal. Even though my kids are very freaking aware. They know what crackhead is. They know what drugs is. They know what all that is because I tell them that's a crackhead. That's what happened when you do dope. That's what happened when you do coke. Like, they know what these things are, but I don't want them to become so accustomed to it that they think this is life. And I don't want them to become a product of their environment. I was just fortunate enough not to, but that don't go for everybody. You don't always fall into that stigma, baby. It don't always happen that way. So I feel like now in their life that they've experienced this hard knock, rough hood street, they know what drugs are, crackheads, criminals, they know what all that is. This is the prime time for me to catch them in life, to take them to, like, okay, let's move to a little suburban area. Let me give you, y'all know all the hood shit. Now let me take y'all to show y'all the life you deserve. I feel like kids deserve diversity. Like, I'm all for, like, the suburban kids who just so suburban, they don't know nothing, and people could come up to them like, hey, just take this little white line and just sniff really hard. You're gonna feel good afterwards. My kids gonna be like, nigga, you trying to give me coke? I feel like they've got that street part down pack, and now I want them to have different. I want them to know different. I want them to grow up different. That's just it. And I share all of that with you just to tell you that being aware, parenting, and parenting with a conscience, and parenting with the intent. Like, I am aware of the trauma I went through. I am aware of how it shaped me in life. And I'm also aware that I don't want my kids to go through it. I want us to not be so stuck in our ways and just be like, nope, this is how my mama was. This is how I grew up. I got through it. I was fine, so my kids will get through it too. I just want to be a better parent. And I'm not saying my mom was a bad one, baby. But she probably did, or that's probably what her mom told. Her mom was probably one of the biggest drug dealers out here. Who knows? But I just want different for my kids. And that's all.
Jazzy and family. Jazzy and family. Jazzy and family. Jazzy and family. I wanna welcome you in my life. Come over to my channel and subscribe.